You've been praying. You've been working. You've been trying to hold it together when everything in you wanted to fall apart. And yet the silence is deafening. No breakthrough, no sign, no confirmation that any of it is working or that anyone is even listening. And in that silence, a question starts forming that you haven't been willing to say out loud. Have I been forgotten? I need to tell you something right now. The silence is not the answer you think it is. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what it means. The moment a man stops hearing answers is rarely the moment God stops working. It is often the moment the most important work begins. Think about every great man in history who experienced a season of complete silence. Joseph spent years in prison with no explanation and no visible sign that anything would change. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before his calling was revealed. David was anointed king as a teenager and spent the next decade hiding in caves. None of them were forgotten. All of them were being built. The silence was not punishment. It was the furnace. And the furnace cannot do its work while you are standing outside of it, demanding to know how long it will take. What God is building in you during the silence requires the silence to build it. Here is what most men miss about seasons of divine silence. The quiet is not just a waiting room. It is a refining process. Everything that the noise was covering up, every dependency you had that wasn't on God, every relationship that was filling a space only purpose was supposed to fill, every version of yourself that was performing instead of becoming. The silence exposes all of it. And once it is exposed, it has to go. Not because God is punishing you, but because where you are going requires you to travel light. The weight you are carrying right now, the confusion, the uncertainty, the feeling that nothing is working, is not a sign that you are going backwards. It is a sign that something is being removed that was too heavy for the next season. Because what is coming cannot arrive while you are still holding what needs to leave. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that has stayed with men for 2,000 years. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He understood that the silence, the resistance, the season where nothing seems to move, was not blocking the path. It was the path. The Stoics taught that every external obstruction is an internal invitation. An invitation to develop patience where you had urgency, humility where you had certainty, faith where you had demanded proof. The silence is not asking you to stop. It is asking you to grow into the kind of man who can carry what is coming. Because what is coming is heavier than what you have had before, and you are being made ready to hold it. Here is the part that nobody tells you about seasons of divine silence. What you do while God is quiet is the thing that determines everything about what happens when He speaks again. The man who uses the silence to become bitter, who uses the waiting to grow resentful, who uses the quiet season to convince himself he was foolish for believing, that man will not be ready when the door finally opens. But the man who uses the silence to go deeper, who takes the quiet season as an invitation to build the character the next level requires, who keeps showing up to the work even when no confirmation comes, that man will be standing exactly where he needs to be when the silence finally breaks. The silence is testing what you are made of when there is nothing to show for your effort. That is the highest test. And most men fail it not by giving up dramatically, but by quietly drifting away while they wait. Stay. Here is the hardest truth in this video. The breakthrough you are waiting for is not being withheld from you. It is being held for you. There is a difference. Withheld means it is being kept away because you are not worthy. Held means it is being kept safe until the version of you it requires actually exists. Right now you are becoming that version. In the silence, in the uncertainty, in the daily discipline of continuing to move forward without confirmation that any of it is working. And when you finally arrive at the place you have been building toward, you will look back at this season of silence, and you will understand not just what it meant, but why it was necessary, and why it could not have been shorter. But here is something else the silence is doing that most people never consider. It is developing your ability to trust without evidence, and that ability is the rarest and most powerful thing a man can possess. The world is full of people who believe when they can see, who trust when they have proof, who keep going when the results are visible. But the men who change their lives, the men who build something real, the men who arrive somewhere most people only dream about, are the ones who learned to move in the dark, to trust the process when the process showed them nothing, to believe in the destination when the road had completely disappeared. That level of faith is not born in the comfortable seasons. It is only ever built in the silent ones. The season of silence also reveals the people in your life who were only there for the noise. The ones who celebrated your wins but disappeared in your waiting. The ones who were inspired by your momentum but unmoved by your stillness. The ones who needed you to be performing in order to stay connected. Those people leaving is not a loss. It is a gift wrapped in pain. Because the season ahead of you requires a different circle. People who can sit in silence with you. People who believe in you when there is nothing visible to believe in. People who are building something too, and understand that the most important work always happens in the quiet. The silence clears the way for the people, for the opportunities, for the version of yourself that could not have existed while the old season was still occupying the space. I want to leave you with this. God's silence is not his absence. It is his presence at a frequency you haven't been trained to hear yet. And the training is happening right now. In every morning you get up without a sign. In every day you keep working without a result. In every quiet moment where you choose faith over fear, you are being tuned, calibrated, prepared for a frequency of life that the version of you from a year ago could not have handled. Do not walk away from the silence. Sit in it. Learn from it. Be refined by it. Because the men who endure the silence long enough always emerge into something that the noise could never have produced. Your season of silence is not a sign that you have been forgotten. It is a sign that what is coming for you is significant enough to require this level of preparation. Keep going. Stay faithful. The silence will not last forever, but what it is building in you will. If this hit you right where you needed it, subscribe. We build here every single week. Drop a comment. What season of silence are you currently in? And what do you believe it is building in you? See you in the next one.